We welcome Eagles fans from around the world to the NovaCare Complex as we continue our coverage of Eagles Training Camp 2020, presented by Independence Blue Cross. Good morning, everyone. I'm Eagles insider Dave Spadaro, along with Fran Duffy once again on a soggy, rainy morning. The Eagles getting loose for this Wednesday practice, and as you see, Fran, no pads, no helmets. The tempo backed off just a little bit today as the Eagles looking ahead to September 13th and the Washington football team. Carson Wentz on this Wednesday. Yeah, we're following it as we do on our social media channels. Carson Wentz and head coach Doug Peterson, along with Jalen Hurts there. A nice picture to start the morning, Fran.
Yeah, we were blessed with beautiful weather to start off training camp these last couple days, but obviously the first experience with some moisture out there, and they're going to give it a go. Like you can see, it is going to be a very light practice for these guys. No pads on, no helmets on. Everybody just going to enjoy a nice little afternoon in the drizzle.
You know, I'm looking at the fashion statements here, and I'm looking at all the different angles. And Eagles fans, make sure that you download the official Philadelphia Eagles mobile app. You can view all of these individual camera feeds in the palm of your hands. But we see Carson Wentz here on this Wednesday, and it is important to note the two of them, as we heard, when Doug was named the head coach, Doug Peterson, he and Carson would be joined at the hip in their careers. They're both entering their fifth year here in Philadelphia. And I think it's important to just kind of go over Carson Wentz here and what he's done as a quarterback with the Philadelphia Eagles. Second highest passer rating in the NFL on third and fourth down since 2017, behind Patrick Mahomes. Second in the NFL in red zone efficiency in the NFL since 2017, behind only Drew Brees. Passing touchdowns per game, third in the NFL since 2017, behind only Patrick Mahomes and Russell Wilson. Most passing touchdowns NFL quarterbacks in 2017, Carson Wentz with 27, fifth in the NFL. Fran, if anybody has any debate about is Carson Wentz an elite quarterback in the NFL, I mean, let's be real here.
There's no question about it. When he's on the field, he is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL and will always put this team in position to compete for a Lombardi trophy. There's no arguing that point. And a guy that, honestly, seeing him every day here at practice, you remember early in his career, it was like everyone was charting every throw and every outlet was doing the completion percentages at practice. There should be none of that this year. I don't think there's any of that this year. It's all about every day, Carson Wentz is one of the playmakers on this football team.
One thing I do want to dispute, though, as we kind of saw Kelsey and Wentz there. Kelsey referred to Carson as having a dad bod, okay? Now, I looked it up on Wikipedia, and
was my picture on there when you looked it up?
It was, Fran. It was all of our pictures. Actually, when I had kids, my hair just fell out. But a dad bod is a slang term in popular culture referring to a body shape particular to middle-aged men. I don't think that his body shape is middle-aged. He's muscled up.
Yes.
After being leaned out. We take a look here at Darren Sproles, formerly a great running back, kick returner in the NFL, now with the Eagles coaching staff, really working with some of these young backs, working in the return game as well. Deuce Staley talking about that this morning. An invaluable addition as the Eagles keeping some of their former players, Connor Barwin, Brent Selleck, Darren Sproles, in the family. I love that.
Yeah, no question. And you mentioned working with the returners, so it's not just that he's working with the running backs, but you'll see him often working with first-round pick Jalen Rhaegar back there as he's catching both punt returns and kick returns. So having those veteran experiences, guys that have just got done playing the game, they're able to resonate with these guys. Even the young guys coming up in the league, they say, oh, I played with this guy in Madden, have so much respect for those guys, and that's something that absolutely carries over. And Deuce Staley is certainly one of those guys.
Yeah, Deuce Staley, assistant head coach, running backs coach, talking about his group this morning. And for all of you fantasy football lovers out there, it sure does sound, and Fran, we've said this all along, that Miles Sanders will get the football a lot in the run game and in the pass game this season. Carson Wentz obviously has a lot of confidence in him. So we are here on a Wednesday morning at the NovaCare Complex. Insider Dave Spadaro along with Fran Duffy. We're here, and we've been here since Monday as the Eagles put the pads on. And we kind of get a sense of what this football team is all about. Fran, what has kind of jumped out at you here the first couple of days?
Well, I'll tell you what, it's been awesome just to see the young guys that we didn't get a chance to see in the spring and in the early parts of the summer after the draft. So the first-year players, the second-year players, we've seen Jalen Rhaegar. We've seen Jalen Hurts. We've seen Quez Watkins. Kayvon Wallace had a diving interception yesterday. John Hightower had a big catch each of the last 2 days. So it's just been great seeing so many of these young players making plays. That's honestly been one of the things that stood out to me over the course of the first couple days.
Some running backs who are in the mix. Eagles looking for some depth here. Michael Warren Jr. there. Elijah Holyfield. Adrian Killins, one of the smallest backs I've seen probably since the days of Lorenzo Booker. And then, of course, Corey Clement facing, as I wrote in PhiladelphiaEagles.com, one of the 10 players to me facing a very critical summer. One of the heroes of Super Bowl 52. A couple of injuries have hurt him. And we look at the offensive line. Andre Dillard, in his second season, he will be the subject of my Eagles Insider podcast that comes out later today. The draft class of 2019, 1 year later. Fran, what role? I mean, I think Andre Dillard is as important as just about any single player, protecting that guy's blind side.
No question. And you see, obviously, all the athletic tools. I wrote about yesterday in our practice notes, Dave, the one-on-one session, all right, watching the offensive line versus the defensive lineman. And there was no player that sparked a bigger reaction out of the entire group than when Andre Dillard stood up Josh Sweat. As Josh Sweat tried to bull rush him, Andre Dillard sat down, took on contact, didn't give up any ground. The entire offensive line was really, really excited for him. So I think that speaks to the improved play strength from the second-year tackle, really trying to step into his first year, obviously, as the starter on the blind side.
And when they were in team, Miles Sanders, who I love the bucket hat, by the way, I've got to get me one of those bucket hats. Note to Eagles Pro Shop. Really, I thought they were running left a lot. Kind of challenging Andre Dillard. You got to be physical. He's obviously got all the physical tools, but certainly has to show that he can be durable, that he can hold his point, hold his leverage. And look, the Eagles are now lining up here on the offensive line with some younger players. To me, this is a depth question. This is one of the big questions on this football team. Who are your backup offensive linemen? The Eagles lost some big V, goes to Detroit in free agency. Valuable piece of the puzzle there. Who steps up and kind of is that swing tackle here?
Yeah, and I think that's one of those things where there are plenty of possibilities. Now it's a matter of how do these guys kind of stack themselves? Who separates themselves from the pack? Is Jordan Mailata able to step in and create that separation? Does the rookie Jack Driscoll come in and really impress people right off the bat? Does Matt Pryor show that he's got that versatility? He's already done that in the NFL, playing both tackle and guard. So that's what these next couple weeks are going to be about. Typically, we would have the preseason to help create that separation, but those small position battles, I think, are going to be really important to be able to watch over the next couple of weeks.
If you are just joining us, we welcome you into our continuing coverage of Eagles Training Camp 2020, presented by Independence Blue Cross. The group shot there of the running backs, yeah, smile for the camera, guys. Looking good. It's rainy today.
It's rainy today.
They're not wearing pads.
No.
Captain Obvious here.
Corey Clement's just one of those guys that you feel like everybody that's around him just loves to be around him, right?
Yes. Always smiling.
Always.
So we're going to stick with this for a while until, well, hopefully the rain won't get too heavy here. The pads will go back on here later in the week. We're back tomorrow and then Sunday. And Fran, I got to believe that in one of these days coming up, maybe Sunday, is when Doug says it's time to put the pads on and
a couple live
tackle
periods
to the ground.
Yep.
There are 14 padded practices permitted in the NFL during this training camp period. And so today obviously is not one of them.
Yeah, to me, Doug Peterson talked about this, I believe, on Monday. He was asked, what's the strategy for the tackling coming in? And he said, we're not really planning on changing much. We're going to do the same kind of thing that we've done in previous years, where we'll have a couple of periods over the course of a few days where, maybe it'll be a goal line period where, okay, we're going to tackle to the ground, or a red zone period or a short yardage period where they'll tackle to the ground. Outside of that, it's going to be business as usual, and they're going to just try and take care of these guys, take care of the players, make sure that there's any injuries are kind of taken care of as they get ready for Washington in Week 1.
And by the way, I would argue that Jason Kelce, although the position lends itself more to having a dad bod, would have a bit more of a dad bod.
He's got a little bit of a jump on Carson, though. He's got a year head start on Carson in the dad bod area.
Let's hope Carson Wentz does not go the Jason Kelsey route. We love Jason Kelsey, all-timer. That's not a quarterback bod.
No, it's not.
We want the Carson bod, the ripped Carson bod. Fran, let's talk a little bit about the quarterback position. We know that Carson is the starter, the face of the franchise. Nate Sudfeld, in a similar position to where he was last year, suffered the wrist injury. The Eagles go out and sign Josh McCown. And Nate just kind of faded. Hasn't thrown a pass in the NFL since 2018. Has only thrown 25 passes in his NFL career. So he is the number 2 quarterback here. Jalen Hurts still learning the way. Has looked good here early in camp. Level of confidence with Nate as the number 2.
Yeah, I think that obviously the coaches have a lot of faith in him to be able to come in and execute the offense at the drop of a hat. You know, obviously more of a skill set to be a backup quarterback in today's game, but a guy that obviously can make all the right decisions. The arm talent is fine. He checks all the boxes there. I remember watching him when he came out of Indiana, and he was a draft pick of the Washington football team that the Eagles will face off in Week 1. He has the tools to be able to work with, and a guy that surely has proven himself to be able to stick in this league as a backup.
Yeah, and I think when we watch, and we take a look there at Jalen Rhaegar catching punts, I think the Eagles are going to put him in a lot of position to get the football in his hands. With Nate Sudfeld, when we watch him in practice, he's running with the number 2 offense against the number 1 defense. And when he looks down the field, there just isn't anything there, so he's forced to check down. I'd like to see Nate throw the ball down the field. Obviously, he's not seeing openings there.
Yeah, that's something that you'll see with a lot of and it can be tough at times because obviously training camp being an evaluation period, you're trying to get good evaluations on the quarterback, the receiver, the DBs, everybody on the field. So you want the play to be run as it's executed, as it's drawn up. But, well, look, as you mentioned, and we'll see that today, right, in this light version of practice where Nate is going to be going up with the backup offense against the starters on defense. So it's tough sledding for sure.
There we go.
Love that.
Deshaun and Darius Slay masked up, 2 veterans, critical. They're going to go against each other a lot. That's a star-studded trio right there. Deshaun Jackson, big play Slay, Miles Sanders.
That's 3 of the most important skill players for this Eagles football team. If you were to rank up who are the top 5, these 3 might be at the very top of that top 5 list when you look at D-Jax, big play Slay, and 1 Miles Sanders.
Fran, if you were asked to catch a kickoff in an NFL game and return it before you got just destroyed, to what yard line would you reach?
Am I catching it in the back of the end zone?
You're catching it at the goal line.
I'm catching it at the goal line. I'd like to think that I can get to the 8-yard line before I get completely crushed. I wouldn't get too far though. I'm not crossing the 10.
I've had people here in the organization, media relations people, say they can get it out to the 20-yard line.
Get out of here.
Exactly.
Get out of here. First of all, you have to try and track that ball and get under it, and you have to catch it and finish. I mean, that's a tough part in and of itself.
I like the mood in the building. I like the mood with this football team. I like the confidence that the Eagles are showing. It's an excellent blend of experience, veterans who have won, and some young guys who are learning the Eagles way. And when we've done these interviews with Big Play Slay and with Will Parks and with players who've been around the league, they talk about the energy level. So I hope that comes through here today. While this is a light practice, kind of get a sense of the personality and the lighthearted nature and just kind of the camaraderie being built with the football team, which I think the chemistry, you ask me why did the Eagles win the Super Bowl in the 2017 season? One big reason, team chemistry. You got to love and trust everybody around you.
You took the words right out of my mouth because everybody obviously in leadership here in Philadelphia was here in 2017, saw how that team was built, how that group interacted with one another. The reason why they were able to forge their way through all of those injuries on both sides of the ball was such a tight-knit group and everybody had such trust in each other, even from coaching staff with players as well. So that is the culture that this coaching staff is trying to foster here, and you can see that right here on the film.
All right, we take a look there. On the right is Javon Hargrave. Now the Eagles going through their individual drills with the D-line. Javon Hargrave is out for, we have been told the term is multiple weeks. So we don't know what that means. Upper body injury. He was obviously the big ticket signing in free agency. Slay, of course, came over via trade. And the Eagles envision a dynamic defensive line group with Hargrave, Malik Jackson, who I think has looked good out on the field, Fletcher Cox, Hassan Ridgeway. Fran, looking around the league, that foursome, and Gerald McCoy losing his season in Dallas, that's really a tough injury for the Cowboys and for Gerald McCoy. How good can this group be?
It's no question. It's the best defensive tackle group in the NFL from 1 to 4. And when you look at Fletcher Cox, one of the elite players at the position, I would really challenge anybody to say that they have a better duo. If you were just saying Fletcher Cox and Malik Jackson, that'd be one thing. But then throwing Javon Hargrave into the mix, it's almost a cheat code for this interior rush. A really, really talented group on the inside for this Eagles defensive line.
And I think Malik Jackson is somebody that we may have forgotten a little bit about.
Yeah.
One of the dominant defensive tackles in the league, a durable player. Released by Jacksonville, the Eagles scoop him up last year, and boom, he goes down in the opener against Washington. And we've forgotten about him, but I feel like he's somebody with a chip on his shoulder. I feel like he's somebody who's a leader, and I feel like he's somebody who wants to say, hey, NFL, I'm still a really good football player.
Versatile, disruptive, powerful, technically sound. I mean, he checks a lot of boxes for a guy who's lined up at a number of different positions throughout the course of his career. Defensive end, defensive tackle. He's quick, and he can collapse the pocket, and he's just very technically sound. He's one of the more underrated players in the league.
And you see, if we can go back to that Malik Jackson shot, or you can see it on Jalen Rhaegar as well, all the players wearing their Rothman patches. Those are the practice jerseys here. We are, of course, at the NovaCare complex, which is spectacular, which they've done a great job creating physical distancing, getting the message through to the players and the coaches and the staff that physical distancing, wearing your mask, great hand hygiene keeps the team healthy. And as we speak, 0 players, and I'm knocking on wood, are on the team's reserve COVID-19 list, which is really, by the way, not just a great trend for the Eagles, Fran, but around the league. Everybody's healthy. This season is going to get off the right direction. There we go. Fletch, Javon Hargrave, and BG, who got the haircut, which looks good.
Looks good. No, I think this is a really fun defensive line group. It was great being over at that group yesterday. The one thing I noticed from this shot, Dave, looking at the special teams unit, we saw it a couple shots ago. Number 50, Duke Riley, who is one of the best special teamers on this team, working with Sean Bradley, the rookie from Temple, off to the side, just kind of working on technique. And again, just kind of speaks to the veterans that are on this team, always looking to take some of these young guys under their wing, whether they're draft picks or whether they're undrafted players, guys that are always trying to get better.
Hey, let's take a look at Jalen Rhaegar one more time here real quick, because he's obviously catching a lot of punts. So why is he catching a lot of punts? All right, let's use deductive, investigative reporting skills here. Here's a man who averaged 17.8 yards per punt return in college, 20 yards a return last year, 2 touchdowns on punt returns, 20.8 yards a return actually. So Fran, I know that there's nothing etched in stone here. Got to be a leading candidate to return punts, and there just wasn't that dynamism in the punt return game. And when you have somebody who can turn the field, flip the field for you, that's exciting, and that's valuable.
No question. And obviously, you also have a guy that's done it in this league at a very high level and is, one of the igniting sparks for one of the biggest plays in franchise history, Deshaun Jackson, who also has the ability to line up back there. And when you have that level of speed on the field, whether it's on offense or special teams, the opponent has to account for it every single play. And so that's why, that's something the Eagles were missing last year, and they love to have that back this year with a guy like that, number 18.
I mean, they are just giving him punt return after punt return, catch after catch, rep after rep. There are other candidates, no doubt.
Yep.
I mean, look, if you're trailing the New York Giants or you're tied with the New York Giants at the end of the game, maybe you throw Deshaun Jackson back there.
That's right.
But I think Jalen Rhaegar, I think the goal for the Eagles, and there is Deshaun Jackson, and there's Darren Sproles. I think if you want to figure, the Eagles clearly want to find a way to get the ball into Rhaegar's hands. jet sweeps, screens, catch and runs, get him down the field, and yes, in the punt return game.
And you know what's been fun too, Dave, is that while I expect that to be the case, it's not like he's like just that. I think for some fans are like, oh, well, is he just that guy? Is he just a screen weapon and a gadget player? No, like he's catching deep posts, deep digs. We're seeing win on slants. Like he's a full-fledged impact player in this offense and is being used just like any of the other receivers. So, having that kind of playmaker that you could do all those versatile things with, which is great, but then having him be able to run all the other plays in the playbook, that's imperative, especially going back to your point about fantasy football. If you're a fantasy football player, you like that for Jalen Rhaegar early on.
Yeah, and if you're wondering why the Eagles selected Jalen at 21 over some other very good receivers, no offense to any of those receivers, simply that the Eagles feel like Jalen fits a lot of the things they want to do, getting the football in his hands in creative ways. As we look at the offensive huddle, Deshaun Jackson, a little dap with Carson Wentz. Who else is out there? Corey Clement. We got the offensive line.
First
Lane
team
Johnson.
line, yep.
Yeah, we got Matt Pryor in there. Or, I'm sorry, Isaac Seumalo at left guard. We've got Dillard at left tackle. Corey Clement getting the rep, which is good to see. Again, I think Corey Clement is so valuable for this football team. Take a look at Deshaun Jackson's get off here. Well, it's a half get off. But I think Deshaun has, from what I understand, just kind of looked like Deshaun.
Yeah.
Fastest guy in the field.
So
that's what he does. Hey,
no
go out there,
question.
run fast, make big plays, do what you do. The leader in NFL history, 24 touchdowns of all time, 24 touchdowns of 60-plus yards. Remarkable.
Is building on what could be a Hall of Fame career as one of the best deep threats in the history of the game, and that's really what Deshaun Jackson has built with that resume. I think it's just great to be able to see that entire first-team offensive line. We haven't seen that over the last few days, right? With Jason Peters out with injury, Jason Kelsey out yesterday with a scheduled day off. So great to be able to see all those guys line up, even though it's a light day of practice, no helmets.
And there was a player who broke the huddle there, J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, who we'll take a deep dive into as we get through camp. But there's your right side of the offensive line, Jason Peters. 18th NFL season, making one of the all-time greats at left tackle, making the move to right guard. I had a podcast interview with Ray Didinger, the Hall of Fame writer, and the great Merrill Reese. Name a player who in NFL history has made that kind of a move. And the only one that Ray could really come up with was Frank Gifford.
Wow.
So we are talking about an elite athlete making a revolutionary move from left tackle to right guard. And the Eagles are like, hey, he's just such a great athlete. He knows the offense. This is going to be not easy, but easier in this short period of time.
I think Jeff Stoutland said it best, and in talking with some of Jason's teammates, was like, yeah, like if anyone could do it, it's JP. And I think that just speaks to what he's done throughout the course of his career and his skill set.
I hope you are enjoying us as much as we are enjoying this look inside Eagles Training Camp 2020 presented by Independence Blue Cross. We're here at the NovaCare Complex, and tomorrow we will be back with more as the Eagles get into pads. So make sure you join us at 10:30 on Thursday morning. For Fran Duffy, I'm Eagles Insider Dave Spadaro. Stay with us. Continuing coverage of Eagles Training Camp 2020 right here on PhiladelphiaEagles.com. Everyone have yourselves a great Eagles day, and fly, Eagles, fly.